Hi everyone, this is a demonstration of how to pick up the stitches around this armhole. This is a new vest design that I'm working on at the moment, and here you have an armhole and you have the option to pick up stitches around that armhole to form a set-in sleeve. And I'm just going to demonstrate how to neatly pick up those stitches. So I've identified the first 14 stitches that you need to start working with, and I've picked those up, as you can see. I'm going to turn to the wrong side, and you're just going to start by slipping the first stitch. And then in the pattern, I give the option of working the first perhaps 3 purl stitches the wrong way. So normally if you were purling a stitch, your yarn would come around the needle in that direction. I'm suggesting in this pattern to, if you find that your purl stitches tend to be a little bit looser than your knit stitches, work the first 3 purls the wrong way round. This tightens them up just a little bit and stops you ending up with kind of obviously loose stitches as you work these picked up stitches. The only thing to just remember is that if you are taking the option of working those first 3 purl stitches the wrong way around, when you come to work those purl stitches on the right side, when you're knitting them, you will need to knit them through the back loop just to orientate them correctly on your needles. Okay, so I've purled all the way along on the wrong side of those first picked up stitches. And then what you're looking to do is to pick up 2 more stitches. So you're looking at the right side and you're looking to identify the next 2 stitches that you'd cast off at that underarm before. So you can see here where that last stitch is coming from, and let me just use my needle to point, it's a bit more accurate. So here you're looking for the upside down V, and that's the last stitch, the first stitch in fact that you picked up as you were working on the right side. So there's that upside down V. You're looking to pick up into the middle of the next 2 upside down V's, there and there. So that one into the middle of there, and then into the middle of there. And you're working here, pick up and purl, because you're working on the wrong side. So you pop your needle through that first stitch, and then again look at the right side to make sure you're identifying the middle of that next V. And because you're on the wrong side here, it's going to look upside down to you. Okay, so you're picking up 2. You turn back to the right side. You're going to slip one, and then you're going to knit those stitches back to the other end of your picked up stitches. Okay, now here I have reached the stitches that I purled the wrong way. I'm just going to undo that last stitch just to show you. So normally a stitch has its right leg over the front of the needle, but these stitches have their left leg over the front of the needle. You should be able to spot the difference in your work. So with these stitches, because the right leg is at the back, you're going to knit those through the back loop, which brings the right leg back to the front and kind of reorientates them in the correct way. Okay, so you knit to the end of those picked up stitches, and then you're going to repeat the same process, but on the right side this time. You're going to pick up in 2 stitches into the next 2 bound off stitches. It's a bit easier when you're working on the right side because you can see there's the last V that I picked up into on the previous right side row, and now I'm looking for the next 2 V's, and I'm picking up into the middle of each of those 2 V's. Okay, and then you're turning back to the wrong side, and again you're going to slip the first stitch. Then you have the option of either working purls as normal, or you may find that you need to work the first 3 purls the wrong way round just to help tighten up those stitches. That's up to you. And then you continue in that same manner, purl to the other end, pick up the next 2 stitches, turn to the right side, knit to the other end of the picked up stitches, and continue in that manner. Once you've worked the required number of repeats of that pattern, you're then going to change to the pattern of picking up the 2 stitches in the next 3 bound off stitches. I'm going to show you next what that will look like. Okay, so I've repeated that pattern as required, and I've reached the stitch count where I'm ready to move on to the next part of this picking up, where you are going to be picking up 2 stitches in every 3 bound off stitches. Now before we make a start on that, I just want to show you that hopefully, as you can see, in the armhole we now have the beginnings of a sleeve cap, and what we're going to be doing is continuing to pick up along the rest of this armhole to form the remainder of the sleeve. Now the reason that the pickup ratio is going to be changing is because we have far more bound off stitches than we want for a sleeve. So if you pick up every single stitch here, you're going to end up with an enormous sleeve. And if that's what you want, then that's fine, go ahead. But in the pattern, it recommends that at this point you adjust your pickup ratio to picking up 2 stitches every 3 bound off stitches. Previously, you were picking up 2 stitches in 2 bound off stitches. So let me use my needle as a little pointer here. So you can see the last stitch that I picked up in, you're looking for that V. That was the last stitch that I picked up into. So here I've got 1, 2, 3 bound off stitches. You can see those little V's, but I want to pick up into 2 of them. Now, one option is to just pick up into the first 2 and then, miss the third out. Or pick up into the first one, miss the second, pick up into the third. You will end up with a bit of a gap if you do that. And we're trying to make this pickup as invisible as possible, make it as neat as possible. So what I recommend doing is picking up in between the first and the second stitch, and then picking up into the third. So what that means is, rather than picking up into the middle of that first stitch or the middle of that second stitch, you're actually going for the gap in between those 2 stitches. So first V, second V, you want to pick up here into the space between the first and the second stitch, and then into the middle of that third stitch. So in effect, you're picking up in every 1.5 stitches to create that picking up 2 stitches in every 3. So I'll just show you what that looks like on the right side and then on the wrong side. So I'm going to identify the first stitch, pick up between the first stitch and the second stitch. Then there's the second stitch. I don't want to pick up into that one. I'm going to skip that and go into the third stitch. And that's what I recommend doing to pick up those 2 stitches in every 3 as evenly as possible. And I'll also show you in a minute what that looks like on the wrong side. Okay, so I've pulled to the other end of my picked up stitches, and I'm going to show you how to pick up 2 in every 3 stitches when you're working on the wrong side. Now it feels a tiny bit trickier just because you're looking at the stitches upside down now, because you're looking to pick up from the front to the back like this. But as before, you're looking to identify now upside down V's. So there's the last stitch that I picked up into. You can see the upside down V and the stitch emerging from it. So then we're looking to pick up 2 stitches in the next 1, 2, 3 upside down V's. If you're finding this really tricky, you can just turn it the other way up. And some people just find it much easier to see those V's the right way up, and then you can identify where you're looking to put your needle in. So as you did on the wrong side, you're looking to pick up halfway between the next 2 upside down V's. So there's my first upside down V. So I'm going between that one and the next one. Pick up and purl there, and then you skip the next upside down V completely. Again, I'm just using my needle to point out to you what I'm talking about here. So that's the next upside down V. So then I want to go into the middle of that third upside down V. And key here is just to stick to that pattern from now on until you've picked up all of the stitches that you need for your sleeve. I find with picking up so often the eye is drawn to anything that looks slightly different. So if you establish a pattern like this and you stick to it, overall the picked up seam, the picked up edge will look really good because you've created a pattern and you're sticking to that pattern consistently. It tends to be when you if you chop and change where you're picking up the stitches, that's where a kind of an anomaly can be created, a bit of a gap or a bit of a slightly differently shaped stitch, and your eye will be drawn to that, making it look less tidy. So stick to this pattern all the way around the rest of the armhole and you'll have a really nice, neat, picked up edge that creates the start of this sleeve. Okay, I hope that helps.